The final episode of the Public Information Movie Review is brought to you by submarine-launched ballistic missiles. Reduce your fear of nuclear attack by blasting someone else to buggery first. And so as this rather boring series on public information films draws to a close, I thought I'd end with perhaps the UK government's most controversial attempt at keeping the populace safe through the medium of film. The Cold War was a particularly worrying period in global history, and towards the middle of the 1970s the UK government made a series of films to make it look like it was doing something to keep the loyal subjects of the Crown safe, other than tapping the Soviet premier on the shoulder, pointing at the Americans and saying, "They did it." What followed was a heartwarming animated series telling us how to keep safe under nuclear attack, which contained very helpful advice, wasn't at all contradictory, and didn't leave any viewer thinking that the precautions were totally inadequate. But they must have binned it soon afterwards, because we ended up with Protect and Survive. What a heartwarming ditty, and not at all shit your pants scary. To be fair though, given the subject matter, what sort of music were they meant to use?
If we are attacked by nuclear weapons, these are the warning sounds you must recognize. First, the attack warning. If an attack is expected, the sirens will sound a rising and falling note like this.
Narrated by Patrick Allen and produced in 1975, this collection of films advising you how to survive a nuclear attack was produced by the government and designed to be broadcast every hour if the intelligence services thought an attack was almost certain within 72 hours.
The time has now come to make everything ready for you and your family in case an air attack happens. This does not mean that war is bound to come.
Oh dear, the bollocks arrived before my bollocks alarm deployed. Would you Adam and Eve it?
You must now choose a room in your home which will give the best protection from fallout. If you live in a house, the farther you are from outside walls and the roof, the better the protection.
How many houses in the UK have a room where the sodding stairs usually are?
If you live in a one-story house, like a bungalow or prefab, the building itself will not give you much protection.
What the government is saying here is that in the event of an attack, you are pretty much screwed.
Here is a list of the most important things you will need. Drinking water, food, portable radio and spare batteries, tin opener, bottle opener, some cutlery and crockery, warm clothing, bedding, sleeping bags, portable stove and fuel, torches with spare bulbs and batteries, candles, matches, table and chairs, toilet articles, soap, toilet rolls, change of clothing, first aid kit, household medicines and prescribed medicines, box of dry sand, cloths or tissues for wiping plates and utensils, notebook and pencil for messages, brushes, shovel and cleaning materials, rubber or plastic gloves, toys for children, books and magazines to pass the time, clock and calendar.
How big do you think my fucking house is?
One idea is to make a lean-to of wood, resting against an inside wall. Strong boards or doors taken from their hinges are quite good. Then cover the wood with bags or boxes filled with some heavy material, like sand, earth, books, or rolled up clothes. Don't forget to fix the bags and boxes so that they don't slip off.
Really? Okay, I expect the government is going to get into trouble for spending millions on underground bunkers when all it really needed was a few doors and some bags of earth.
If you are at home, if attack is imminent, you will hear the attack sound like this. So take cover at once. Send your young children to the fallout room, then go quickly and turn off the gas and the electricity at the mains. Close down stoves. Damp down fires. Shut windows. And draw curtains. Then go to your fallout room and stay there.
From warning to impact, I would not have enough time to shit my pants, never mind do all that.
Now, this is what you should do if you are out of doors when the warning sounds.
Of course I'm out of doors. I took them down to build a frigging Wendy house in the ironically named living room. The series goes on to explain in a highly clinical manner how sanitation won't be an option anymore, and how to dispose of family members who die of radiation sickness. Comedy. The particular shortcomings of this series of films have been widely exposed down the years, the main problem being how inadequate the advised preparations seem to be.
Suppose, a mile above the dome of St. Paul's Cathedral in London, on a clear morning, a single 1-megaton weapon explodes. At the instant of detonation, the temperature of a nuclear fireball is 20 million degrees. If we freeze time at the exact instant of the explosion, these are the effects of the heat alone in different parts of the city. At St. Paul's itself, ground zero, the initial heat is intense enough to melt the great bronze cross. In St. James's Park, the same thermal rays are hot enough to ignite trees and scorch away the grass. In the shallower parts of the lake, the water boils to leave the lake bed dry and steaming. The temperature is around 4,000 degrees. That is enough to vaporize the road surface, melt parts of statues, and set fire to everything combustible. At enormous pressures, and with winds up to 2,000 miles an hour, the blast wave spreads outwards, following the heat flash as thunder follows lightning. Within 20 seconds, the destruction as far as Bayswater is virtually total. As the pressure wave sweeps outwards from St. Paul's, it shatters and bursts every window in the city, from the M4 services near Heathrow to Hornchurch in Essex, an area of 500 square miles.
But don't worry about all that, just hide in a cupboard under the stairs, and in 2 weeks everything will be as right as rain. In spite of all of this, Protect and Survive is still an effective series, made in the finest traditions of the PIF. It may have serious problems in a practical sense, but given the likely mood of the country if it ever needed to be broadcast, it's better than nothing. As this series ends, what lessons can we draw from the films we have seen? and the state of the country which had to watch them. I'm afraid there is only one logical and inescapable conclusion. Everyone in the 1970s were completely stupid. I mean honestly. For God's sake. How many bloody films would you have to watch before you decided not to play with matches, swim in a water hole next to a pile of rusted cars, skip across a railway track, deliberately drive down the street without a seat belt on, chuck a frisbee into a substation, drink a cup of sulfuric acid, or telephone the president of Russia in the middle of the night just to call him a homo? You would not believe the sheer scope of these films. They had one telling you to mind out for people who did not know how to walk across a living room.
Polish a floor and put a rug on it. You might as well set a man trap.
And one for not killing yourself whilst standing still on an escalator.
Don't let this happen to your child.
What's next? A film telling you how to go to the toilet. That's all for this episode, and so from all of us here, until next time, bollocks.